Hey everyone, KoBaC here with an updated Ruby Amethyst deck, Control to Victory version 2. I made a previous video kind of just going through my entire thought process of why I designed the deck the way that I did, what I felt were good matchups and everything. So I felt, since I've made some significant changes to the deck, it would probably be a good idea to go ahead and also make the video over again to kind of discuss things, especially if this is the first time you've seen it. So the other day I went to my second store championship and I got second place, which feels bad because I have the same pricing as the 8th place person. But, it's still cool to be able to get to second place. There were some really, really strong players there. So to be able to get into, the top cut and then make it to second, to me, was an achievement. So my first version, Control to Victory, let's say version 1, I had been playing the deck. It was doing super good locally. And then the first store championship came along and it performed bad. I wouldn't say actually the deck performed bad. It was mostly that the matchups that I had in the first store championship were brutal. They were mostly my counters or like things I had a really weak matchup against. And those were like what I was just getting back to back to back. And it was just not good. Was not happy with myself when I left that day. So I came back to the table. I saw what other Ruby Amethyst players were doing locally that were doing well. And I was like, all right, let's see if we can kind of pick at some of this stuff and see if maybe I can glean some of what they've done on, and integrate that into my deck and see if we can make it better. And then boom, second place, right? So it's already a huge improvement. So let's go ahead and get into that here on Dreamborn. So this is Control to Victory version 2. I'm gonna go down the list of everything with it and kind of just highlighting, my main reason for why it's in the deck and improvements, that we kind of made. So if you had seen the previous one, I have dropped the Cuscos, 3 of the Emboldened Warrior Sisu, 1 Goat, 1 Elsa, 1 of the Medusas. The big Sisu is now completely gone, and we've also dropped 1 Brawl. And the bigger change is I have added in 2 Maleficent. I'll get into why later. 3 Pegasus, 3 Pirate's Life, 1 Finders Keepers. All of those cards were not in the first version of the deck, and I would say that all of them have been a big help in this version. Pegasus being the only one that's kind of iffy, but if he's there when you need him, it's really good. So this version of the deck, I am only running 9 1-drops. I was previously completely sold on you have to have at least 10, because without 10, I just don't see the 1-drops consistently enough. Dropping down to 9 was a concession that we're already at 61 cards. I don't want to go over that. I'm not opposed to going to 62, 63 in the right deck, but unlike things with Sapphire, Ruby Sapphire in particular, where you've got, vision and other things to help you really filter like all the time, with Ruby Amethyst, our goal is to slow the game down, take control of the board, and then stay in control as we inch our way up to winning. Hence, control to victory, right? We're taking control of the game to be able to win. So we don't want to go fast, and we're going to be filtering. We're going to be doing a lot of card draw, but what we don't want to do is not have answers. We need the card draw to keep moving because we need to be able to respond as our opponents are doing things, especially the decks that go really, really hella fast, right? Like Chernodog. So I'm running 9 1-drops at the moment, 2 of them being Chernobog's followers, 4 Diablo, 3 of the Magic Broom. The reason that I'm doing it this way, and you might have a different situation wherever you're playing locally. I love Chernobog's followers. I think it's a really strong card. I see other Ruby Amethyst players using 4 of. To me, Steel Song is always a threat, or anything with steel is a threat, because they can just snipe Chernobog before he really even gets to, quest and then break the card to get the draw. I would rather have Diablo or Magic Broom in a higher abundance, because I feel that those have a better reward than I played a character, please don't touch it, right? Because a lot of players now, if they see Chernobog's followers, they're going to shoot it first because I know you're probably going to go ahead and take the card, so I need to take care of it. That's my strategy too. If I see you drop it and something else, I might just go ahead and get rid of the followers, even though it's a smaller card, because I don't want you getting the card draw. If I notice you only got like 1 or 2 cards in hand, I don't want you to have more, right? I'd rather deal with the monster character later and let you not get the card draw. So I like having Diablo. Diablo at 4 of. There's lots of ways to be able to use him. It's nice because we also, I'll get into later, we run library, put him on library, crash him into an enemy, draw 2 cards immediately. That just Part of the other thing of this deck is that you are also wearing down your opponent mentally. And I don't mean that like in an oppressive way, but mostly because if they see you continuously drawing cards, they're constantly afraid that you have answers, right? And that's what we're looking for. But even if I had a couple times in the championship, I didn't find B-Prep when I needed it. But I kept drawing so many cards that my opponent had to think he's got one or two of them easily. Or he's got Fox, or he's got Medusas, or he's got Tremaines, he's got Dragonfires, he's got Maui Half Shark, right? Because some of the stuff in here also makes you think maybe there's Half Shark hiding. So they're going to be playing differently because they see you, they look over and you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 cards and they've got 3. They're going to be thinking differently. So Diablo is a big help for that. Magic Broom, I was up doing 4, I went down to 3 in a previous version. I like having him on 1 if I'm going first, right? Because then I can play Diablo or Pegasus and break it and then draw another card to keep that card draw immediately going. I'm questing, I'm denying them targets, I'm already getting cards back. That's a nice strategy. Mim Snake, I'm only doing 2. I think a lot of other Ruby Amethyst players are only doing 2 at the moment. She's kind of slow. It's nice to have her. It's nice when she works, right? She can sometimes even be the path of like, I already have a goat on table. I play Madam Mim Snake. I play goat again, or, you know, I bounce back up Tremaine, replay Tremaine. There are a lot of uses for her. The downside is she doesn't have rush like the Fox version. And she's in the early game. I typically would rather play 1 1-drop and then on turn 2 play 2 more 1-drops. Hopefully either blowing up Broom or just kind of setting up like 3 Diablos and being like, you can snipe one of them. You can't fight all of them and prevent me from being able to play Fox on turn 3, right? So that's what you're kind of thinking through as you're laying stuff out. So Snake doesn't really fit in the early game. Sometimes she does if I'm going second against, say, like Steel Song. She's nice to have because she's bigger, and now, you know, they may have played turn 1 Cinderella, but now they're going to have to do 2 more 1-drops in order to play Strength of Raging Fire to get rid of her. So she's a little bit, you know, harder to get rid of. I don't super care for her a ton. That's why she's down to 2. Pegasus is one of the new additions. He's a 3 of. I like him having evasive. I like him having a 3 strength. I don't like the 1 health. That's kind of a bummer, but he is inkable. I sometimes like to see him on turn 2. He's kind of an answer in case maybe you're playing against Steel Song. There's going to be a lot of things about Steel Song because that to me is one of the most dangerous decks for us with this. And I made a other thing that we're going to get into later that kind of showcases different decks that I feel that this version is good against, kind of a coin flip of, and then also weak against. So Pegasus is great because you can throw Merlin Crab onto him. So if they were to play Robin Hood, or let's say anything that they're going to shift on turn 3, then Pegasus can get supercharged with the Crab, and now he can do 6 damage on turn 3 if they shifted and quested or shifted and sang or something. And now all of a sudden you're doing 6 damage. You're destroying anything in the game that can shift right that early. I don't think there's any card that I can think of that can shift on turn 3 that can survive a 6. So that is pretty cool to be able to just, you know, completely delete a Robin Hood is awesome. Yes, you could also use him with Crab or in conjunction with Elsa to take out Genie or Half Shark, Iago. Well, not you'd have to use a Crab with Pegasus to take out Iago, but you know what I mean? There are answers that Pegasus can do. It's nice that he's also evasive, so then they're going to have to feel that they're going to have to delete him because even if I do nothing with him, I just keep questing. It is an annoying presence on the table that we're just accumulating a slow roll of lore that they may or may not have an answer to. Next up, we've got Mim Fox. I think that the 100%, she should be a 4 of. I could see a case for going down to 3. I feel in mirror matches, what is our weakest thing in mirror, right? If you're playing another Ruby Amethyst player, to me, hands down, the weakest thing, the biggest reason that one Ruby Amethyst will beat the other is either extreme card draw, which all of us have potential to, and then locations. And locations, I think, are the bigger component of how you win a mirror match with Ruby Amethyst. Whichever one of us can have library or castle stick on the table for multiple turns in a row is probably going to win because we just can't deal with it. So for me, being able to play 4 different chances with Mim Fox, with 3 Merlins and 3 Mauis, even with 2 Elsas, and then Crab can make anything strong, Goat, Pegasus, right? Now all of a sudden you've got insane strength potential. Being able to Multiple times in this past championship, someone would play a location. I deleted it right away, just took it out and denied them any lore, any, setup, anything. But me, on the other hand, I was defending my libraries, right? So that and most Ruby Amethyst only have so many answers. And if you're going up against, let's say, the Half Shark version, right, that's running Peter Pan, as long as Peter Pan isn't on the table, you don't care that Half Shark got played necessarily, because you know that he's going to have to sit, dry, and then get to attack. So that gives you an opportunity to play Tremaine or Bee King, or if your version runs Dragonfire, Be Prepared, whatever. Like, we have ways to deal with that Half Shark before he can just drop and sit and then destroy our castle or library, right? So I think 4 of is phenomenal. 2 of for Maleficent, I don't see yet going up to 3. And it's funny because I've been playing since set 1, and this was a card that for a long time was like a 4 of, and then she became a 3 of, and then she basically became a no of. And now I feel that her potential for having a guaranteed card on turn 3 is nice. I wish she had a 2/3, so she was a little bit more, a little bit more endurance, but I'm okay with it. She's inkable if I don't need her. Being able to play her and Rabbit on turn 7 or 8, being able to play her and Genie is just nice to be able to have that additional thing. And it is something that they have to look at and say, okay, do I fight this Maleficent? She can sing Friends. She could be bounced and be replayed. I think I have to take her out. And if we lose her, it's not necessarily the end game for us, because we're like, okay, she hasn't generated me a card when she, gets picked back up or anything. So I'm okay with her possibly being sacrificed. Crab, 3 of all day. He works, like I mentioned with Fox, he works perfectly in conjunction with her. Being able to charge a Diablo and crash it into something, take it out and draw a card is a absolute beautiful turn 3 play, turn 4 play, turn 10 play at times, right? It's just great. I think he is a really, really solid card. And right now in the meta, he is in my opinion, a 3 of. If you're running 2 of, you can make it work. But I think in Mirror, you're going to struggle, because me being able to play Maui and Crab, or I already had Crab on the table. I play Fox, I bounce him, I pick him up, I charge up Fox, I replay Crab, and now Fox is a 10, right? I can delete anything in the game except for the one big Taka that no one plays. That's just awesome, right? Genie, for a long, long time, I was doing 4 rabbits, and only 4 rabbits. I didn't do Maleficent, I didn't do Genie. Then I started doing 3 rabbit and 1 genie. And now I feel that watching some of these other Ruby Amethyst players that have just crazy amount of card draw, being able to have 2 genie in here, I think is a benefit. He does present himself as a really juicy target they have to take out, because I'm going to be questing for 2. They just can't let that sit. For me, I don't really typically use him for fighting. It's nice because he can also sing Friends. I really put him out more for the card draw and then just the threat, so that they feel that they need to deal with him. And if they don't deal with him, okay, fine. I'll sing with him. I'll get 2 lore. I don't care, whatever. He's just making me money, basically, right? If he gets to stick. And if he doesn't, it stinks, but I did get a card. Merlin Goat, I forever was running 4. I felt it was really weird to go under 4. And then I was making some changes and went down to 2. And I feel that 3 really is the way to do it. At least for me right now, that is where I'm sitting, is that 3, because often I seem to find him a lot at the very beginning, right? In my opening hand, even after Mulligan. And I feel like he usually for me ends up being ink. So I had some games where I was in between these 2 championships where I had gone down to 2. And then in a mirror match, I desperately needed 1 more goat and had already played both and they'd already been defeated. And there was no more goats, right? And I kept looking and looking and looking. And then I was like, wait, I'm only running 2. And I realized right then I was probably stuck and going to lose, and there was nothing I could do. So I went up to 3, and I feel that that is better. But that one being, maybe if there is a version 3 of this deck before the end of this season, I don't really see me necessarily going up to 4. I feel like 3 is the safe. I feel like I can't really fit an extra one in there with everything else that's going on. And we don't really need him because we did add 3 Pirates Life. So I'm going to live with 3. 3 Rabbit. It's kind of the same deal as with Genie. Having 3 of him, I don't necessarily want 4 if I also have 2 Genie and 2 Maleficents, and then, other ways to get cards like up here with these guys. So I'll stick with 3. I feel that 3 is good. I have a thing where if I have 4 of them in the deck, I feel like I often have 2 in my hand, which can be good or can be bad because I'm looking for answers and I just keep drawing stinking rabbits. And I I need to be prep. So I'm living with 3. I like 3 most of the time. If I am in a situation where I have Rabbit and Genie in my hand, I will play Rabbit, even though Genie generates more lore. He's evasive. He has a little bit more health. The fact that I'm going to get a guaranteed card off of when they destroy Merlin, or if I bounce Merlin, is way more valuable to me than the Genie having evasive and questing for 2. Rabbit isn't there to quest. Rabbit is there to cause mayhem, right? You see him drop, you start thinking, okay, if I don't get rid of KoBaC's Rabbit, he's going to get another card. Oh, he just sang Friends on the other side. Now he's going to be generating 4 cards by the end of this. Oh, he bounced it and he's replaying it. Okay, now it's generating even more cards. I want that feeling of I have to get rid of the Rabbit, but it's going to reward me when they do. When Genie gets deleted, I don't get a reward, right? It bought me time. Maybe they didn't go after something else, but I lost that card draw because I didn't get to do more with Genie. When I lose Rabbit, I'm still getting rewarded, and I like that. Elsa, I've gone down to 2. I was running 4 in my original Control to Victory version 1 because I was anticipating running into way more Emerald Steel discard, and I haven't run into any in a long time. Nobody's really playing it. I think there was one player at the second store championship, but they did not make even top 8 cut. So why am I running 4 then? I don't really need 4 of her. I have other ways of dealing with evasive characters. I wanted her there as an answer to absolutely get rid of Diablo, and I'm not seeing him. So if all of a sudden next week I go to a store championships and there's a ton of him, yeah, I might feel the need to bump her up a little, but it'll kind of depend on how things play out. And the thing is even against an Emerald Steel, it's such a toss-up at times because like if they don't get all of their curve that they need, we have good ways to slow the game down and be able to interrupt them and defeat them. If they do get everything perfect, it's pretty much really hard to beat them anyway with almost anything. So Maui, I strongly am an advocate for 3 of. I think 3 of is... I think if you're not running 3 of, you're not really thinking of dealing with mirror matches, because just having 2 of him and maybe 3 Fox and 2 Crab, I'm telling you, mirror match is brutal on you, because if I run enough locations to, to eventually drain you out of these answers and I can still get a library to stick, I think you're in big trouble in mirror. And there's a lot of mirror right now. So I think that's something to super consider. He's inkable, right? All the perks of Maui. I think he's still a rock solid card, and I'm kind of surprised that his price has dropped down so low because I think he's just insanely valuable to us. Lady Tremaine and Medusa. For a long time, I was running 2 of both, and I felt that was super strong. I know there's a lot of Ruby Amethyst that don't even play Medusa anymore. I think that's kind of silly because being able to get rid of Robin Hood or Smee, Pete, so they don't replay it. There's a lot of cards that Medusa can just delete, and you're like, okay, that problem is gone, right? I could get rid of a Genie, I can get rid of a Peter Pan, I can get rid of Diablo. There's a lot of stuff. I can just drop it. Okay, it's gone. We're done with that thing, right? It was better when Hiram was around because Hiram was a big threat, so us being able to drop and just delete Hiram. I know we had Brawl, but being able to get rid of a 1/6 is a big deal. With Tremaine, I love Tremaine. I think she is... It's crazy to me that both of these are so cheap, and I know part of it is because set 3 got printed so heavy. But I think that both of these are staples of Ruby Amethyst. I think having a 2 of is great because at times, they've only played one character, and you're just sitting there grinning like, okay, I played Tremaine, and then I play Fox, and I bounce her so that I just defeated your character without doing anything, and it's back in my hand. So then they know, they're already starting to feel that defeated sensation because, like, all right, he's just gonna replay Tremaine again on the next turn, and yeah, go ahead, play that 1-drop character. I'm gonna still play Tremaine and get rid of it just because, to just stay in control. Having 2 of her is great because then if you really, really, really are low on ink, you can shift onto her for only 4. So you're able to, at times, if you have 10 ink, I've done this before. I play one Tremaine. Oh, you still got a character left? I shift Tremaine. You lost both, right? So she ends up becoming a soft B prep or a soft big Sisu because you were able to take out the two characters at the same time. She quests really big. She can still defeat nicely and then have enough health pool on the other side to probably survive. That's kind of the benefit of Medusa also, is that she's a 4. So when you could play, Medusa can swing at a library, then you bounce with Fox and hit it, with Fox or something. That's nice. So I don't feel as bad trading out a Medusa for another character at times. And it's nice that she can hit something. Typically, I hit a 3/3 or something, wipe that out. Yeah, I took a big wound, but whatever. I survived it, and now you've got to figure out a way to deal with her. I'm running 3 brawls at the moment. I had been doing 4 forever. I went down to 3 because we needed to make concessions and make some room for some other things. I think Brawl is a phenomenal card. I think you should, at minimum, run 3 because of the power that it has and what you can delete. And at times you're going to find that, well, I don't need this card. Okay, it's ink. And hopefully, if the deck is working, not so much of how you're playing, but hopefully if the deck is working properly, you have lots of choices of cards in your hand. And you're okay inking a Brawl because I have Medusa, I have B King, I have Be Prepared, right? So I can afford to lose this one thing. And there's a lot of steel cards, and there's a lot of other cards that are 3 and higher. And with us not having access to blue in this deck, so we don't have Sapphire Coil or Ice Block, Brawl isn't as valuable as it used to be. But being able to, this is a big part is dealing with Peter Pan. Because if I stop Peter Pan, all of my evasive counterparts don't have Rush. And that is a huge, huge problem for them that we don't have to face because we're not worried about that. I'm running 1 Finders Keepers. I had been using this in a previous version before I started promoting the Control to Victory, even the first version. And I felt that I had it in the deck and I didn't really ever use it. It typically was just inked. Now I feel that with the way things are progressing in the meta, I feel that having 1 right now is good because at times being able to just draw 3 cards and maybe still have enough ink to do something else is so crazy that it's just such a really helpful thing at the right moment. I am running 2 Teeth and Ambitions, and I'm one of the only people probably out here promoting this in a really big way. I think that this card is super crazy good. The reason being, it's singable, right? So we can get Pegasus to sing it, or some Snake, any character really, to be able to sing it, tank the damage, and then be able to still do damage. Or we can throw it on top of Diablo. He'll be gone, right? We quest with him. We pay 2. We take out Diablo. We take out something of theirs. This is an awesome card. Now, in version 1, when I went to the first championship, I didn't really get much use of this card. It pretty much was always ink, but it was because of the matchups that I was against. In the second championship, however, this came in super handy a number of times. One time in particular, I can remember there was a mirror match and the guy was using Flynn. So he played Flynn, and then I knew I could just take out Diablo, take out Flynn. I don't care, right? I got a card that wrecks his whole strategy because he's trying to, generate that extra lore off of having the strongest characters. That came in a big deal. I used it numerous times on Cinderella, which would sometimes help me win against Steel Song. Steel Song that day was my hard matchup. I had lost in round 3 to Steel Song. And then that was the same player that I played against in the finals. So losing I already had gone 1-2 against him. And then I went 1-2 again against him. So both games that I went first, I won. So that's kind of sometimes how it is with Steel Song. And I think I had gone. I don't think I had won the dice roll in the Swiss style. I don't think I did, but I'd won the 2 middle games, and I had used Teeth sometimes to help slow down, take out Cinderella and just buy me time, hopefully to keep moving forward. So I think this is a good card. Us being able to get rid of Giant Cobra or Iago, Diablo, be able to finish off other characters. Some, maybe their Peter Pan rushes into something of mine. He feels safe. No, delete. Right? There's ways that this can be super helpful. And I think that this only being a 2 of, I don't think it should be a 3 or a 4. 1 of, I don't think we would see it enough. 2, I still feel good about keeping this in the deck. Friends on the other side is a 4. If you're not doing 4, you need to just watch some videos from somebody, like a bunch of players. Friends on the other side should always be an auto 4 if you're ever running Amethyst, in my opinion, and especially in Ruby Amethyst. I'm doing only 1 B King Undisputed. I am not, you'll notice there's no Dragonfire. And the reason I'm not doing Dragonfire is, yes, it would be nice to have a 5, or really just being able to target a specific character to delete. I like, though, having B King because yes, it's the Tremaine effect. They get to pick, but it's something that Rabbit can sing. It's something Genie can sing. Rabbit and Genie. I mean, yeah, anybody else who's bigger than that. Oh, yeah, Goat. What am I thinking? Goat's a 4. So those characters being able to have access to something, and maybe it gets rid of a character I couldn't normally hit. They just played it, or it's something with evasive that they can't finish off directly. All right, they can sing this, right? Dragonfire being a 5 that I have to hard pay for, I just don't super care for it. It's not my favorite, but I know lots of players are running it, so it's not a bad thing. I guess a lot are also running 1 Dragonfire and 1 B King, but I think just this is usually just fine. I'm running 3 Pirate's Life right now. I will say that this has been a game changer since I've started putting this in. Being able to have 3 of them means I can ink 1 or 2 and find the other one later in the game. And I basically get, the giant Cobra effect. Oh, I play this, I get 2 lore, you lose. Being able to play this and pull them down 2 lore can also be the difference between me winning or losing. I was doing some other games yesterday on online, and there was one game in particular where I was losing. I should have lost, but I had Pirate's Life, and they were Ruby Sapphire items. I was able to play that, pull them down, and then I quested up to 19, and I had Goat on the table, so there's nothing he can do. He can blow the board up, and I win. He ended up playing like Dime and Tamatoa, but he just didn't have enough lore to quest else and just win. And Pirate's Life, it didn't so much stop him, because I think he would have only ended at 19 and then would have passed anyway, but it pushed me up to where he couldn't use Be Prepared and wipe the board, right? Or play, ink something and Sapphire Quill my characters and then play a Sisu. Like he was stuck because of Pirate's Life. So I think having 3 is the way to do it, because we can ink them early game if we need to. Yes, it stinks. Yes, it alerts the opponent that we even have those in the deck. I think more and more Ruby Amethyst are kind of thinking to run that anyway. And if they see 1 get inked, maybe they feel a little safer. They may not be thinking we'd run up to 3, because a lot are running 2. So inking 1, they're like, okay, there's only 1 left. If they see us ink the second, like, okay, then that's gone. No, I'm going to find it later, because we're going to keep just drawing and get to it. 4 Be Prepared. I know there's some guys out there running 3. I think that's crazy. This is hands down one of the best cards in the entire game right now. I hope it gets reprinted. Ravensburger. 4 of. You got to run 4, because we don't have Sisu. We have lots of other ways to take out little things between, Tremaine, Medusas, everything with Rush, Brawl, Teeth, B King. But being able to just stop the whole board and let's reset literally makes this deck the way that it is. Without it, we'd be in big trouble. So lastly, I run 3 library and 1 castle. For a long time, I was only running 3 library. I added in the castle because I was reminded of the lethality of it, especially in Mirror. I think that having these 2, typically you won't get the castle to stick, right? They'll usually try to figure out a way to delete it really quick because they see the 2 lore and everything. And I think a really good strategy is it kind of based on what's going on in the game. Do I put my character or characters, if I have like 2 or more, do I put them all in the library or do I put them on the castle? Typically, I'll put them on the library because I feel like they're going to try to blow up the board, or they're going to try to just, they have to delete something, so they're going to take out characters, and then I'll get rewarded with a card. Sometimes, though, it is good to put them on the castle and maybe not quest, because now I'm putting all the pressure on, you better deal with that castle, or I'm going to get another card next turn. I'm going to get 2, right? Or 3. And now all of a sudden they have to deal with it. I don't typically put them on the castle. The castle is there as its own pressure. It's a lot easier to get rid of the castle, right? Because you can use a lot of characters that have rush for 2 or rush for 3 plus something else, and it's gone. The library typically is annoying because it has that 1 extra health. If they have a crab already on the table, or if they play a fox and play a crab, it's not enough to get rid of the castle or it gets rid of the castle. It's not enough to get rid of the library. Yes, it's better in a greedy sense to have the 2 lore, but really, like, if we're able to just get 1 library to stick, like on turn 6, right? Turn 7, we play B prep. Turn 8, we do something else at Tremaine or something and take them off the table. Turn 9, they try to do something else. We take it off the table. We've already generated multiple lore for us. And what is it doing? It's making them focus their effort on, I have to get rid of library, which gives us time to play Finders Keepers, to play 2 rabbits, right? To generate cards and then sing friends on the next turn. It gives us time to like really recoup and really like, okay, we are now in the control aspect of the situation. And now we are going to dictate how the rest of the game, at least for the next few turns, are going to play out. Yes, they could play Pete's, they could do other things, but really they don't want to play Pete if they're going after a library. They want to play other things that are going to be faster, because playing Pete, okay, he's going to do 3 damage. I don't care, right? But I will tell you as a strategy, because I'll make some more videos about playing the deck on ink tables so you can kind of just see it being used. Even at the championship, in the mirror match that I was doing in the semifinals, my opponent would play 1 character. I think I had 2 B preps in my hand. I played it. I just blew it up. Didn't care, blew it up. Because what I didn't want is for him to attack with that character next turn and then throw down Fox or Crab or Maui, right? I don't want that extra hit. Blow it up. Took out 1 character. He plays Goat. 1 single little goat. And he has like 12 ink. He can play more things. Don't care. Be prepared. Because my library only had 4 health left. So I'm like, I'm not going to let your goat just take out my library. I'm going to B prep it and just make you have to commit and do more things. And that library is just going to keep just giving me a little bit, because, you know, they just see that just ticking up. And they know, oh, you probably have Pirate's Life. Oh, you have Goat. You could have Goat and Snake, right? So like they know the same things we do in the mirror of what we could have in our deck. So they know that, but the pressure is still like, man, I really have to get rid of that location because it's going to make me lose if I misplay at this point. And we're just playing Protect the Tower, right? We've got 1 little thing and we're just like, no, nobody can touch it. Nobody's allowed to touch it. And I think that is effective. If they play Maui, right, and hit it for 6, maybe we play Maui and just delete theirs and just make them. It's a good strategy to kind of keep a rough mental of like, okay, they inked a library. We know that they probably at most have 2 more. Some run 4, but that's not very common. Typically it's 2 to 3. So they're like, okay, they inked 1. Let's be on the side of caution. They probably have 2 more. Oh, they inked a second one. Okay, they probably only have 1 left. I don't feel so bad playing one of my Mauis to fight your Maui, because you have less likelihood of having a bunch of locations for me to have to deal with. A lot of guys are not running a bunch. Most of them right now, I see people winning the store championships with the evasive version with like Half Shark and stuff. I feel that I have a far better matchup against those than they do against me. And that's just, you rock, paper, scissors, right? They're good against a lot of other stuff. We're better against that. But then we're weak against some other things that maybe the Half Shark is better at. So it's just the nature of the game, right? Which is a good, healthy meta, that there's counters to everything. And we're just hoping we don't run into our counters when we're playing. But I feel that this combo setup is really, really strong and yields us a lot. Now, there will be plenty of times that I ink the locations because it makes more sense to play Rabbits or Maleficent or just keep card draw going. I don't typically try to get super greedy in the beginning of the game and drop these because they aren't really yielding us what we need. We need in the beginning to really get like a decent setup, attack their stuff, slow them down, hopefully have something left to sing friends on the other side or do other things that we need early to kind of stay in control and slow the game down, prevent the hyper aggro from just winning outright. And then we need to start stabilizing and having lots of card draw on turns like 4, 5, 6, 7, if possible. And then from there, we're kind of just responding. What's left? How many cards do they have? Are we able to just play a character, delete a character, right? And then at that point, we just kind of stay on top. Then is a good time to start stabilizing and dropping locations because now they're pretty drained out for a lot of decks. And now the locations are going to be how we're going to just stay in control and just accumulate more rapid lore and snowballing effect. Otherwise, if we play them too early, they may answer them really early. And that sometimes might be the strategy you need because you want to slow the game down anyway. And maybe just based on the cards you have, that's a good idea. So it kind of just depends. So from there, take a breather for a second. let's go ahead and switch to what I feel Control to Victory is good against, kind of a coin flip against, and then weak against. Now, you could sit down and be against an inexperienced player with any of these decks, and you could just wreck them. You could be against someone who's really good with a deck that should be weak against you and still beats you, or one that's a coin flip. So the coin flip ones are not necessarily out of the weak column, but they are ones that we should have a decent time, or at least if we go first, we may have a really much better time. All right. So in general, I think in all versions, as of right now, as of today, all versions of Ruby Amethyst, we should be strong against, even if we're going second. The two mirror matches that I played at this last store championship, one was like the more like a set 6 Flynn Rider kind of deck. The other was a very heavy evasive version. I went 2-0 against both. And the one in the semifinals, I went second. So I went second, was 2-0, right? So that player is a really good player. That's not me bragging. That's not me taking, undue credit or whatever. I'm not trying to disparage anybody. He is a really solid player in the area. This version of the deck is just hard for them to keep up with because we have so many cards we're drawing and we're just staying in control. We can defend our locations. We have ways to delete their locations if they try to go that way. We can get rid of Peter Pan so it interferes with everything that they're trying to do at that point because everything hinges on that Peter Pan. It truly, truly does. So if we can get rid of that, we're in a good spot. So I think in basically every version of Mirror, we should be able to come out ahead, typically. Churnadog, I feel we generally have a very good chance against. It could fall into the coin flip because if they win the first game, right, if they win the dice roll, we are a little bit at a disadvantage. But I feel most of the time we should be able to win if we can attack the correct characters. Now, if they get an absolute cracked hand, that's not good. Or if we get in a situation where we don't have a turn 1, we don't have a turn 2, our turn 3 is like Maleficent, right? There's nothing super strong there. So we're not really able to do anything until like turn 4 with maybe bouncing Maleficent for Fox. We're already kind of behind. We're probably going to lose. Outside of those scenarios, if they're kind of having the average kind of flow of things and not the absolute just, cracked hand, we should be in a good spot to slow the game down and take control. In my opinion. Ruby Sapphire with Shark, I feel we should be in a very strong position of. Now, would I think I could do really great against like someone like DKP? I don't know, right? He's a really solid player. But against most people playing, the Rush, McDuck Manor, Half Shark version of Ruby Sapphire, we should be in strong control of. We make sure that we don't leave any good targets late game for Goofy to just drop in and just give them 2 lore. We have answers to deal with libraries, so we can definitely deal with a McDuck Manor most of the time, right? With Fox and Maui, boom, 10 damage. It doesn't matter. It's got 9. It's gone, right? Crab, Maui, boom, 9 damage. It's gone, right? So we have ways to just delete that. They have board wipe, but so do we. We're in a pretty good spot. Most of the time, I feel, as long as we can keep Half Shark from doing anything. And that's a big deal also in the mirror with the evasives. You deny Half Shark from getting to do what he wants to do. You just don't let him. If that means you don't quest for a turn because you don't have B prep, whatever, right? You just deny him the ability to do his ability of taking actions back from his hand. Let them play their actions and generate their lore. Do not let them replay them by recycling them from their discard. I will 100% be prepared an entire board to kill a single Half Shark. I will deny them that ability because they only at most have 4 of those. So if we just make sure we just keep breaking them, they're in a hard spot. And Ruby Sapphire does not have the filtering effect that it once did. It's a little bit harder to do for them. So we can kind of play the long game with them that they can't really, reciprocate to us. Emerald Steel discard. I have not played against it in a while, so I will leave that there, but I have a lot of answers for dealing with it. Yes, if they are able to play, 1-drop Diablo, turn 2, shift Diablo, turn 3, maybe well, actually, even on turn 2, if they're able to shift that Diablo and play Ursula to yank a card from us, turn 3 they play Prince John and then they sing Sudden Chill, right? Like they could absolutely nuke our hands super quick. Those are just games where like the deck was meant to win that round. There's nothing we can really do about that. There's nothing really any deck can do about that. So it just is what it is. And in those situations, yeah, we're probably going to lose. Outside of that, I think we have a strong case for being able to maybe be like a 55% chance of winning, which is still higher than a coin flip. It's above 50%, 55, 60%, right? I would feel pretty good, especially if we're going first. Oh yeah, I feel much better about things because we've got Brawl, we've got Teeth and Ambitions, we have the Pegasus in there that they're going to have to shoot the Pegasus and waste their time doing that. And what are they doing by taking out Pegasus? They're not playing discard cards. They're dealing with that as a threat. So if we can just keep that away, right, it just slows them down. Emerald Amethyst discard, it's very similar. It's actually, I feel, a little bit better than the Steel one because they don't have Peats. And I think Peat for us is a huge problem. Not a bannable problem, but it's just an annoying problem. It's just with them not having that. Now they do have lots more targets though to be able to shift that Diablo in. So that is something we have to consider. So what I would do in that case, I would wait. Like if they drop 2 or 3 little Diablos, right? Or shift targets for Diablo, the shift one. I would wait. If maybe I got a Brawl or I have a Teeth and Ambitions, I will wait until they play the big one. Yes, they're going to get a card from me, but then I'm going to get rid of it. So I baited it out. I waited it out more than baiting it. Waited out. They finally commit, delete it. Ruby Steel, I think we are in a phenomenal place against. Ruby Steel is not a super strong deck, but I wanted to list it here. It is a very strong deck, and against things that it's like Chernodog, I guess it's supposed to be really good against. But for us, it's not really a super big deal because we don't typically have a lot of things on the table. And then we can kind of just play the game out. And unless they're running multiple Whole New Worlds, they're probably going to get starved out of cards before like we're even remotely worried about it. So they kind of have to be really aggressive and keep their things on the table. Yeah, they could play Pete to try to keep the board from getting blown up, but we have ways to delete their stuff too that just drops out of our hand and takes it out. So it's not even something for them to really set up and fight. So they have to kind of play a little more conservative, I think, against us. And I think we're just in we're in a, I don't know, 80% or more chance of winning against them. I think we're just in a really good spot. Ruby Amber, I think, is a similar thing. They just, yeah, even if they run like Mufasas and stuff, they just don't really have the card draw that we have to really deal with and worry about. We can kind of hold the game and kind of see how things go, but I think we should be able to beat them. I also didn't think of writing this one out. Amethyst Amber, I think we also have a pretty favorable matchup too. They have to kind of hit everything that they need. This isn't even a deck you're really going to see. Actually, all 3 of these you probably won't see at a championship, but it is like you still could. And that's one thing that's crazy about the championships that I feel that doesn't really get discussed. And this could be a whole other video into itself. You can sit there and practice against the guys and gals you see in your locals, right? And you can just, you can get to the place where you're like, I'm really likely to win. And then they do a store championship and some goober from 2 counties over comes and plays at your game. You're at your shop and it's just a deck nobody plays there. So you don't practice against that. And now all of a sudden it's a really big problem for you because you don't know the steps to do to fight that, to counter it, or they're just one that gets really underneath this and is a problem. For me, that's like Sapphire Steel. I don't see Sapphire Steel very often. And when I do, it's really annoying. So it's just one of those it's not fun to fight, in my opinion, with this deck. So you could practice and say like, man, we could walk in the room right now and we're going to take all these games, right? And then you see these in the room instead and you're just, oh, this is not going to be a good day. And that's just sometimes what happens. First championship of this season, I went up against a lot of stuff that was coin flips and it was just tough. And then second championship, I didn't run into those, right? I ran into Mirror, I ran into Chernodog, and I did great against those. The one I lost to was the coin flip one with Steel Song. So let's get into the coin flip. Steel Song, I feel these are ones, in my opinion, that if we are going, let's say we win the dice roll, we're going first. We have a decent hand. We win game 1. Game 2, Maybe they have now a strong hand. Maybe we didn't, whatever. They take game 2. Game 3, we're back to going first. If we can have a decent hand and a decent just kind of flow of the game, we should have a really good chance of winning. Steel Song can mess us over, though, because they are able, like, if we don't have an answer for aerial, like if they play turn 3, or let's say they do the queen line. Turn 2, they shift to big queen. They blow our stuff up, right? But they have Whole New World in their hand. There's nothing that we can do to interfere with that on turn 3. Nothing. There's not a darn thing we can do. So on turn 3 or 4, they decide to go ahead and Whole New World, right? They dump whatever was left in their hand, if anything, because they've been inking and doing other things. They do Whole New World. We're in a really bad spot. We will probably lose that game. If they don't run queen, if they do Robin Hood on turn 3, if they shift and play Whole New World, we're already still in a bad spot, right? If they do it with Ariel on turn 4, we at least have an answer because we could brawl her and we can get rid of her. So we do have a way to prevent her from being a problem. If we are going first, we even would have access, if we've been able to defeat the other characters, of B King, right? So we have at least something to do. Typically, I'd say that if you're going against Steel Song and they're a really good Steel Song player, what you should do is probably just try to widen the board as much as you can, because they're going to try to do Whole New World as soon as possible, because they know that they need Whole New World to beat us. They have to find it. If they do not find it, we will probably win, because they don't run discard, right? So they don't run, bare necessities typically, or You Have Forgotten Me. So they don't have anything to do to interfere with our hand. So as we're able to, we start figuring out, oh, you don't have Whole New World? Okay, I'm going to sing Friends. I'm going to play Finders Keepers. I'm going to play Rabbit, Bounce Rabbit, right? So then we start building up our hand. And then at any point, they may do Whole New World, but they are already behind in cards. And if we can make them, the way to beat Steel Song is if you can make them have to pay 5 to play Whole New World, we are probably in a good spot. If they are able to sing it and then play more characters afterwards, in those games, we are way behind. It's just the way it is. So I would say it's a coin flip. Ruby Sapphire items. This is a nasty deck. And if this gets running, there's just nothing we can do to it, because we don't have any sort of item interruption. So we are not able to do anything to them. So if they are able to play, if they've already got, a dime sitting there and a whole bunch of items, and then they just drop a Tamatoa and they just hit the dime and they get 16 lore all of a sudden, there's not a darn thing we can do about it, right? That's just the game. So against Ruby Sapphire items, what we are trying to do is deny them the new Tamatoa from being able to quest and give them a free item. And outside of that, we're just trying to control our own card flow and just keep building, and then play. It's a good idea to play locations, because they don't typically have a way to really deal with that. They might have a hideaway or two, or maybe a Cusco, but right now it's not really a location heavy meta, so they don't really have a lot of answers out there. Us being able to get those locations out and kind of just start snowballing lore is the only way that we really have a chance to win. I would say in most cases, I would say that's probably a 40%-ish favorability for us to win here. It's a pretty hard matchup for us because we can't do anything to dime. Sapphire Steel Kiwi is the bane of my deck's existence. I do not like this deck because it is able to win on turn 5. And there's nothing we can do about it because a lot of their stuff has 3 strength, so we can't even brawl things. There's nothing we can do. And if we play Fox, she's trading with something, and they still keep going. So, and then they have Alice so that they can give other things wards, so then we're not able to delete things. Oh my goodness, what's her name? The female chicken from Robin Hood, she has ward and bodyguard 7. So she just got such a big health pool. It's really hard to deal with. They've got Pluto that they could throw with Alice, put ward on him so that we can't do anything about it. There's just lots of stuff that they can do that's just really tough. And if they mix in Cogsworth, I didn't list the Sapphire Steel kind of mid-range one with Cogsworth and Beast. That one's not really super common right now. That one's also just a pain in the butt for us because we can't do anything to Cogsworth, and they just keep accumulating things, and we're just kind of just behind. And then they play Whole New World, and they get all this stuff. Then they play Pete, right, because they got access to that too, and we can't do anything to blow it back up. I'm not running Sisu right now, so I don't even have that as an answer. I kind of was missing Sisu, especially in my games in the second championship against Steel Song. One game in particular, I think it was the very last, was it the last game or the second game? I was really like, he dumped 4 characters on the table. They were all 1s and 2s, and I was like, man, if I had Sisu, this would be literally like, I'd probably win the whole thing. But she just doesn't fit with the smaller ones, and not having her there to shift is kind of a pain. Having, adding her in and making us go up to 14 on inkables is more on the dangerous side. I think more often than not, I don't want to have her with the way that the rest of this deck is built, but I can see a case for putting her in and maybe taking something out, or just even going to 62 cards. Kind of wait and see. Emerald Amethyst Bounce is also a pain in the neck. The thing that's crazy to me is that these 2 decks are not likely to be able to win an entire championship, right? They might win locals every now and then because people come in with some weird stuff or some new stuff or some stuff they're just testing, and these decks might be just strong enough to win that night. They don't typically win big events. They do sometimes, they don't typically. But what they are there, in my opinion, is they come in the room and they're like, I'm going to fight KoBaC. I'm going to knock him out of the championship, because this is exactly what happened to me in the first championship. I was against these, and I've gone against these in other championships, and they've knocked me out of Top Cut or other things. And it's like, it is what it is. Rock, paper, scissors, right? They have a more favorable matchup against us than we do to them. The reason that this one has a decent matchup against us is that they are able to just play things and bounce them just like we are, and they're able to get cards out of that. They have access to go-go, so as we are damaging things and we're fighting things and they're getting close to the end, they could just go-go. I actually had a Trinidad player do that to me this past weekend, and she got 4 lore off of my Maui. She only needed 2 to win. And I felt like a dummy afterwards. So I'm like, I know that she was running this because I saw her ink one in 2 of the games. So I knew she was in there. I didn't know how many, right? How many are in there, but I knew that they were in there, and I just completely left that just open, and there was nothing I could do about it. And it was a mistake on my part. I don't know if it would have changed anything based off of other choices I could have made in that turn, and had Maui trade with another character so he was dead. They would have still gotten 1 off of a Fox with an evasive character that I would have to immediately answer, or they're just going to quest and win. They could play another go-go again on the next turn and just win, right? I don't know if it would have changed anything in that round, but I still felt silly for leaving that open. Emerald Amethyst players run go-go for sure, and I know to be looking out for that, but they run Curse Merfolk, they run Ursula, Deceiver to yank our strong either card draw or B preps, right? So they have ways to just keep harassing us and just keep messing up the things we want to do without having a Steel Pete to kind of get in the way. So this one is just tough. Blurple is one you will not see a lot of, the same with Emerald Sapphire, but they are both stronger against us. Almost to the point that I would say that we are weak against them, but I don't want to say that totally. Actually, I would say in this matchup, I'll move that one over. I would say that Emerald Sapphire we are actually weak against. And I'll get to that. With Blurple, they're able to ramp, right? They have access to the same locations as we do. They have ways to just, you played a character, I play Let It Go, I play Hades, but then I bounce Hades back to my hand, just like what we would do basically with Tremaine, right? So they have access to those things. They have Fox, they have Crab, they have Goats, whether or not they run them. But I mean, they have ways to kind of just harass us and just do things to interfere with what we're trying to do. So it sometimes makes it difficult for us to blow the board up and take their stuff out. They have rabbits, they have friends on the other side, they have finders keepers, so they have the same card draw that we do, Genie. They have all of those pieces, but then they have the annoying blue pieces that help them to ramp and then have access to removal and location removal and stuff. So they are more, I would say, of a counter for us. So the coin flip that we would be in a better spot is if we're going first. If they are able for the game to go longer, it's probably more favorable to them. We would want to kind of put the pressure on and start playing and going a little bit wider so that they can't deal with things because they don't have board wipes. So if we have more targets on the table, we might be able to win just by sheer just attrition and accumulation of lore versus our normal strategy of slowing the game down to stay in control and then win that way. We kind of want to speed it up, and this deck just isn't great at speeding up because, we play Genie, they play Pan and then Iago or something and just delete our Genies. So it's kind of an issue for us in most matchups. I think it's very much coin flip. The 2 decks that I would say that we are hands down
not excited to see. I would say Steel Song is almost into the weak column, but you can beat it if you go first, especially if you go first, or if their hand just bricks and just they need more time to find Whole New World. Oh man, we are loving that. Our thing to win is let the game go a long time. Against Amethyst Steel, the whole mantra of let it go to a long time is bad, because then they too have more time to find goats and cobras, and maybe they run Honey Marin or other things. Like This Is My Family, and they're just grabbing lore. They're just grabbing lore, and then they bounce it, and then we're like, dang it, I can't get rid of that thing, like the Cobra, and they're just bouncing, and they're just getting cards. Oh, I play Doc, I get more cards. I do this, I do that. Like, that is tough. It's really, really tough. And it definitely is something that I feel that we are not favorable to go into, because they have all of the same purple cards we do, but then they have Pete's. Then they have access to Let the Storm Rage On, and along came Zeus, right? So they do have ways to just get rid of us in a big way, and there's not a great deal that we can do about it. We're basically over here praying that their hand is just broken and it's just nothing for them to do. No one drops or something, or they only get their bounce characters, and that's not it's just the way it is. So I would say Amethyst Steel is definitely a pain for us now, and I would say it's either the hyper aggro or the mid range. Both of those are a problem. Anything that's hyper aggro that can trade back with us, like with the Sapphire Steel Kiwi, I think that's just tough. And I think that I will say that these two columns are a little bit biased based off of my opinion, off of how often I beat these decks. There's a really good Amethyst Steel player that plays at one of the shops I go to that I like. I don't know if I've ever beaten his Amethyst Steel when he plays it. Sapphire Steel, there's someone who plays who's not quite as good with it that I've been able to beat a number of times. But if you go against someone who's really good and knows what they're doing, it's a lot more into the weak column, because it's just really tough to deal with them being able to just play a bunch of things and quest big before we can even really get going. The last one that we're going to talk about is Emerald Sapphire. You will not see this a lot, but it is a pain in the butt when you do. And it's kind of the same thing with Blurple, because it has all these like ramping cards, but then the biggest thing that it has that's a big pain for us is Bend to My Will. If they are able to bend to my will at any point, it's probably game over already and we're just playing it out. If they're able to do it a second time, it like triples the chance that the game is already over and we're just playing it out. And I just scoop and go to the next game. Because Bend to My Will is so devastating. Because what are we trying to do? We are trying to just keep cards in our hand so we have choices. The more cards we have, the more choices we have, the more things we can respond to or control the game to go the way that we want it to. With them having access to Bend to My Will, and typically none of these other decks, none of these other green ones are going to run it. Only this. If they run it and they hit you with it, dude, it's just devastating. And the fact that they're Sapphire and can play Vision or Grandma Tala or How Far I'll Go to keep or Develop Your Brain, whatever, to keep filtering through cards to look for it, it's just gross. It's really, really gross. And it's just a hard matchup for us. It's an extremely hard matchup. But against other decks, especially against like Amethyst Steel should probably roll Emerald Sapphire most of the time, right? If they can get their game going, Emerald Sapphire is a cakewalk. Like for us, running into Ruby Sapphire Shark is more favorable, in my opinion, for us, when like Emerald Sapphire wouldn't be thrilled with that, because they can just use Half Shark to hit something to regenerate, cards that maybe give them a chance to filter or play Vision and look for the cards they want, right? So they have ways to just bring things back, and that's way less favorable for them. For us, I think we have a good chance. So I think this is just the rock, paper, scissors kind of thing, and this is just a bad situation for us. I think that these two are the weakest. We are the weakest to these two decks. Blurple is a strong candidate. I mean, any of these are just really, if the player knows what they're doing and they get a good hand, we're in a bad spot. We're in a really bad spot. So that is my thought process for Control to Victory version 2. I am looking forward to playing this at least one, maybe two more championships. We'll see how my time is available. So I'm looking to play it a couple more. I will let you guys know how that proceeds from there. Hopefully I'm able to get a first place this time. And if you guys take it and you do whatever, just tell me. I'd love to know how you guys are able to take this deck and how you're able to utilize it as well, and find out, how other players are seeing success, or what other decks they're running into that were hard for them to fight. Because This is, it's card games. There's nothing here that is the be all end all. There's nothing here that's like, this is hands down the best version of the deck. There's nothing else that's even going to remotely compare to it. No, right? Like there's room for refinement, and there's rooms for just, with every deck, with new, especially when Reign of Jafar comes out, this deck could go under a big change. It might not, but it could. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, subscribing to the channel, helping, things here. And I look forward to talking to you guys in the next video.